Hey, everybody. How we doing? Awesome. So before we go ahead and introduce ourselves, just by a show of hands, who in this room is trying to break into the music industry right now? Nice. Okay. Love it. Well, hopefully you have learned some good insights today. My name is Faith Galloway. I am the Director of Operations at Bauer Entertainment Marketing. We are a full-service entertainment marketing agency in Nashville, but I have almost a decade of experience under my belt in the industry. Kind of grew up running around at Newport Folk Festival, started working Bonnaroo in my teenage years, but really got my start at an internship at Live Nation while I was here at OU, and then met my current boss, where I work now through OU's South by Southwest program. So after that, went on to work with artists like Lee Brice, Vic Mensa, tons of different A-list artists, but really am focusing now on marketing music festivals. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm an OU alum of 2019. I'm going to pass it on to our lovely speakers and have them introduce themselves.
Yeah, my name is Jaron. I am a producer, and I'm also in a band. I kind of got my start. I did the OU's Ohio and LA program. I was in the second program, did an internship, which led through a job, and then through there kind of got into music production and kind of been a freelance producer for the past 6-7 years. I do a lot of what's called production music, to kind of where I make music on spec for different companies, and then they put this stuff in TV shows. And it's really cool because you can make passive income that way and get paid through it. And then I'm also in my band Sadakoi, and we've just been kind of doing the whole social media grind and going off on that. We just released our first album and kind of building on that. So that's kind of like the two avenues that I currently reside in.
Hi, my name is Macy Gilbert. I am an OU alum. I graduated in 2017. I initially had majored in integrated media because I wanted to go more into the film world, and I moved out to LA and I started working in film, and I realized that just wasn't for me. So over the past couple years, I transitioned into the music industry. I started off working at a place called Trailer Park. They do movie trailers for film and TV. And within that, I started working in their music department, which does all of the sync licensing for the music that they use in all of their trailers. And from that, I ended up transitioning over to the artist management world, where I was working at Live Nation. I was managing artists like Lil Nas X, Labyrinth, Kid Laroi, and it was a lot of fun. I worked there for about 2 years. And about 2 months ago, I had left that role and I moved over to a place called Grandview Music, where I'm now working as an artist manager for artists that are in the rock space. So we have bands such as Motionless in White, Kim Dracula, State Champs. So now I'm working in the touring world and I'm on the artist management side of things, and it's a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Cameryn Connor. I graduated in 2018 from OU. Recording industry track. Pretty much after college, I moved to Nashville, and I worked in a few stores, customer service stuff, and then I found out about something called the MLC, Mechanical Licensing Collective, brand new, and started working there as a customer service associate, and did that for 2 years, and then for the past year, I'm still at the MLC, and I do rights management, pretty much organizing recording information for different songs.
Nice. Well, thanks for the awesome intros, guys. I'm going to start out with a question for all three of you. So what motivated each of you to pursue a career in this industry? I can start with you, Jaron, if you want.
Yeah, sure. I think I've always loved music, and I kind of got into playing instruments very young. And then I remember seeing the Killers at Lollapalooza and seeing their drummer just having the time of his life. It's man, that's all I want to do with my life. And then I've been in bands ever since high school, and I love it. I really don't know, for me there was never a backup plan. It was always just I'm gonna make this stuff work no matter what, and kind of having that just ignited the fire. And being broke and trying to just figure it out one step at a time. Really, just like, yeah, we don't have a backup plan. You just got to go for it. I love music.
Yeah, love it. Macy, how about you?
Yeah, for me, I think my dad was a really big influence in my musical journey. He was in radio for 30 years, and I always went up to the radio station with him. And he'd like take me to concerts, he'd take me to shows, and he's also in a classic rock cover band. So we did a lot of, I was always going to shows with him. I, grew up on the Beatles. He got me my first piano when I was like 4 years old. So like music was always very prominent in my life. So I think especially moving out to LA, like I saw how big the music industry was, and like it ignited my passion for it. I was like, I want to be working at these concerts. I want to be going to these shows, and I want to be a part of it. So yeah, he was a big influence for me for sure.
Awesome. Cameron?
So I pretty much always loved music. I came into school as an artist and was really interested in continuing to play. But I went to South by Southwest, I think the same year as you, Faith.
Yeah.
And I got into marketing, and I learned more about licensing, and Josh Antonuccio had something to do with me being interested in licensing. So I kind of shifted my focus over to being more behind the scenes, and I found a lot of joy in just learning more, because everything's always changing in the industry, like I guess legally too. So got really interested in that, and then wanted to see what the MLC was about, and pretty much started from there.
Awesome. Well, Macy, I'm going to throw a question at you first. What would you say some misconceptions were that you kind of thought about when you were just trying to break into the industry? What did you, and what kind of misconceptions did you have that were, you found out later that were not true?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, especially from where I'm from a very small town, and, the music industry isn't very prominent there. So, I just didn't think that a career in music was viable. I didn't think you'd ever make money. I didn't realize how big the industry was and how many different, areas of things that you could go into. So when I moved to LA, that's why I initially, when I was in school, I was mostly studying film, because I didn't realize how big the music industry was. So when I went out to LA, it was like, kind of like an aha moment to me, where I was like, oh my gosh, like, I've spent my whole life going to concerts and going to shows and seeing all these bands that I like, and I didn't realize there were so many jobs that I didn't even know existed. So when I first started off working in sync licensing, I didn't even know what sync meant. I had no idea. I didn't know that that was even a facet that I could get into. And I'm a very type A person. I really enjoy, doing Excel sheets, and I love doing that kind of stuff. And like I was making cue sheets all the time. I was, doing a lot of research, trying to find publishers and labels. And like I was like, oh, like this is like really cool. So that kind of just like sparked me into like, oh my gosh, like, there's this whole other world out here. Like I never even had considered artist management until I started doing this. And I was like, wow, like, there's so many different jobs that like, sometimes you have to do it just to, kind of find your path. And it eventually led me into the artist management path, which is where I'm at now.
Yeah, it's very non-linear.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I started out doing sponsorship for Live Nation, then went on to do publicity, and ended up in marketing. And now I'm even, considering some paths down creative direction, or, the music video space, things like that. So I think even now, when you've already broken through, there are still kind of misconceptions that it's, too late, or you're kind of stuck in that one niche that you have kind of pursued. But that's not the case at all, especially in our industry.
Yeah, like I was, when I was one of my first jobs in LA, I was doing post-production. I did on that show, Deadliest Catch. Like every seagull in season 12, that was because of me. I put that seagull there. And like, yeah, through that job, kind of that, I would stay up all night making music. And eventually that guy was like, dude, you don't want to do this. Like, I'm going to fire you, but I'm going to give you like my studio for dirt cheap. Like, go figure out your life. And that's kind of what started all that. But yeah, it's very non-linear. You'll never know who you're going to meet or who will help you along the way, even if it's maybe not where you want to be at first. But I think it just comes through like human connections and just meeting people that want to help you out and like letting them know what your passions are, and just everyone has their own journey,
Totally. Cameron, what would you say when you were first starting out? How did you get noticed by industry professionals? What did you do to stand out amongst all of the competition that's in our industry currently?
Well, I got an internship that was one of the first things that I decided to do when I got to Nashville. Besides that, it was a digital marketing internship for a label called Integrity Music. After that, I went to a lot of interviews, and I went around to different networking events at those companies in Nashville that I had interviews with, and I just talked a lot. I was really honest with everybody I was interviewing with and everybody I was just talking to at these events. I went to a lot of concerts, and I was really honest with the things that I wanted to learn and where I was at currently in my journey. And people like to talk about themselves and what they do. So pretty much being teachable, talking to them, they were more likely to recommend me for small projects, or, hey, my buddy is hiring. You want to apply? I'll put in a good word. That type of thing. It's just communicating.
Yeah, I think we both also learned that very intimately at South by Southwest with just all of the industry folks that are out there that you get to connect with in person. So if anybody is currently attending OU and has not is interested in the South by program, could not recommend it enough. Especially if you're trying to, like Cameryn said, make those personal connections, because as she mentioned, that's one of the greatest ways to get ahead in the industry and really make a name for yourself.
Same with the OU and LA program. It's really great, and that's led to we know so many people that have landed jobs, and there's so many people from OU that are out in LA right now that just they want to help. We've all been through the same struggles, and
yeah, our entire friend group is pretty much from OU, and it's crazy because there's so many people going to these big cities, and just by knowing OU people out there has gotten all of us jobs and stuff just because
Yeah, shout out Roger Cooper.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I just going back to my South by experience, same with Ohio and LA, I think, I was able to meet my boss there that I work for now. I started interning there in August of 2019, and I'm now the director of operations. But we had met a few months back when I was, at South by, didn't graduate yet, but I still kept his contact, his card in my wallet, along with many others who I then hit up a few months later, and he just, so Bauer Entertainment Marketing just so happened to be hiring interns. And so it was, right place, right time, and I think that is a big factor in making it in this industry.
For sure.
Yeah. Macy, I do want to ask you, what advice can you give people trying to break into the industry with all of the complexities in our industry, from just in the entertainment space, but just specifically music, all of the different technicalities and complexities? How do you give somebody advice that's just starting out, and what would you tell them to help them kind of navigate through those?
Yeah, I think, kind of my biggest thing is kind of what Jaron was saying is it's non-linear. You might think that, this is what I want to do and this is amazing, and you try it, and after doing it, you're this actually isn't what I want to do. I kind of hate doing this, sometimes you have to try it and just work around until you finally get to your space. Myself is actually a perfect example of that, to where, I majored and I wanted to do film. And when I started doing it, I was why am I doing this? This is not what I'm passionate about. My passion truly lies within music. So it's taken a while to kind of find my boundaries and find my place. And, don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to change. If you think that you're fully set on something, you are not stuck in that path. You are able to switch. You are able to move to where you want to move to. I never thought I would see myself in artist management. I thought the transition was going to be very hard, being that I, didn't major in music. I didn't major in those things. I thought it was going to be really difficult. And in reality, I just started talking to the right people. I met a lot of Ohio people out there that were very helpful for me. And, just being very open and transparent about what you want your journey to be. For me, when I was doing music supervision, I sat down and I was like, okay, like I realized that I want to be in the music industry, but this isn't 100% what I want to do. So like, what can I, go to next? So I literally wrote down like all of my, skills and like, okay, these are the things that I love about this job. These are the things that I hate about this job. And then I wrote a separate list of like, these are the things that I want in my next job. And that ultimately led me into artist management because, I really liked working with people. I wanted to be, going to shows and doing those things, and artist management was that path for me. So, don't be afraid. Like it's definitely a scary thing if you think you want to do something and then you try it and you're like, this isn't for me. Don't be afraid to, go elsewhere. And also just recognizing, especially, coming out as a student, you are going to struggle for the first couple years because those are going to be the years that you're going to be making minimum wage. You're going to be, taking like the odd jobs. You might be working front desk somewhere. You might be doing jobs that like don't seem glamorous to you. But at the end of the day, all of those things are going to pay off. So like push through those bad years to get to where you want to go. Because I have been living in LA for 7 years now. And, I just 2 months ago started this job that I'm currently working at Grandview Music. And it took me that long to get here. Like I've taken a really long route, but it's finally ultimately led me to being in the rock space, which is where I wanted to be all along.
Yeah, go sleep on a couch. It's fun. Like I kind of like, I miss those years. Like in a way that like they were just so fun when there was like even like less expectations. Like I think at the time, like you just got to embrace the journey, and like it was some of the funniest years that I've had. Like just right out the first few years I was in LA. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can look back at it and laugh at it now. Like,
Yeah. All of the unpaid internships pay off.
Yep.
Well, cool. Jaron, I know that you have a unique perspective being an artist yourself. So, how did you navigate the space when you were first starting out? What were some like strategies that you used to break through with your band and make a name for yourself as an artist?
Yeah, so we signed a publishing deal with Universal a few years ago, and kind of how that came into fruition and everything else was, I think it just comes down to putting yourself out there and not being afraid. Like, don't be afraid of being cringy or whatever. Just like put it on social media. You never know who's going to be watching throughout the last year. Our band has grown so much through just posting on the internet. We posted almost every day on every single platform last year, and we grew from like a few thousand followers to I think we're over 300,000 now through just that. And that's opened up so many doors and so many opportunities. And that's through just putting ourselves out there. And like some posts did like really bad, and that's okay. Like you're going to fail. And I think it's just like all about failing upwards, because you can't find that success or what you want to do until you fail enough. And I think that's really just not being afraid to fail and being consistent and just put it out in the world, and don't listen to the haters. Don't listen to nothing. Like, it doesn't matter. Just keep on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that we were chatting the other day, and you mentioned you've been doing some successful live streams lately where they're hitting like 90K viewers, if I'm correct. But just going off of that, feel free to elaborate there as well. How has technology kind of changed and played a role in that success?
Yeah. We live stream 3 to 4 times a week. I know like the rest of the band, they're literally about to live stream here in like an hour. And again, it's just being consistent, and it's cool. And it's been such a good growth and discovery platform for us to connect with fans and build a fan base. And like, something that we utilize is our Discord. And I'm sure like some of our Discord members are watching this right now. And it's about like building a community. Like it really comes down to like all the metrics, none of those numbers matter. Like it comes down to building like your core people that want to support you and that will help you out, and have like your street team and that will help you with word of mouth.
Yeah, and I think they have some like diehards now. Like we at our last show, because I also manage his band Sadakoi, and when we were playing a show in LA, like we had some people from TikTok and Discord that were just like random people online that they have now become like fans of us, and they flew out to come and see us. Like we have people that are just like really, really invested in our band now, and it's so awesome to just have like such like a core fan group.
Yeah, but they're like homies to us now. Like I know like
are.
the names of some of their daughters. Like
Nice.
And like we talk to them on Discord. Like we like actually have made like relationships with these people now. Like it's so cool.
But I think that's how you got to do it, is just build up that community more so than anything else. And like to me, I'd rather take one of those people that I have a connection with more so than another 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify,
Yep.
like another 1,000 like one person that will like ride or die for you is way more valuable than like 1,000 just passive listeners.
And those
in
people
my
are going to be here for the long run too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you're headlining a festival and you need those tickets
be
sold,
front row.
there they go.
Yeah.
Cameron, and Macy, feel free to chime in after, because I know that you've both kind of gone through some changes in your careers. So what's some advice, Cameron, you would give to somebody who maybe is in a career right now that they're not digging per se, and they're looking to change and go into a path in the music industry? What advice would you give them?
I would say to explore your options, do lots of research. You might think, like was said earlier, you might think you need to be here, you want to go here, but you need to think about what will it take to get there. There's many different ways to get from point A to point B. So it's really important to research, be honest with yourself, research, and explore things. You might not want to do this certain thing, but it's a step closer to your end goal. I would say do that and go out and network as much as possible. You could literally be anywhere, engage with people.
Yeah, and I think what you can do too is like, if you think that you're interested and say you're in, sync licensing and you want to go into artist management, like find some artist managers that are doing things or working at similar companies that you want to work for, especially if you can find like, especially an OU alum or something like that you can actually reach out to and say, hey, can we go get coffee, and just like ask them about their job, ask them what they like about their job, ask them what their day-to-day is like ask as many questions as possible. Or if you're working at a company like what I did when I was working at Trailer Park and I realized I wanted to make the transition into the music industry, I went to the music department and I like bugged them every single day and I was like, hey, like I'm super interested in what you guys do. Like I don't really know much about what you guys are doing, but like, I want to learn, I want to watch you. So when I had my lunch breaks or like after work, like I would go in and I would like sit in their offices and like they would just literally let me like watch what they were doing. And I learned so much by doing that, which ultimately whenever they had lost their music coordinator, he was like going to another company, they came up to me and said, hey Macy, like, this guy's leaving, like, do you want the job? And I got that job, which ultimately led me into where I'm at now. So like, don't be afraid to meet up with people, ask questions, like, shadow people, like anything you can do to like learn about the industry before you even dive into it, like do it.
Yeah, I think that's super important too in today's just employment hiring landscape, like having those personal connections. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that get turned away from job applications because they don't have references. Like a lot of industry jobs will require you now to have some sort of reference. Not all, but some. And so having, being able to just feel comfortable with connecting with people on LinkedIn, not being afraid to be cringe, like Jaron said. I know that it may feel cringe right now. We've all been in your shoes, but that's how you really stand out amongst the crowd, because everybody else is afraid of being cringe too. So don't worry, it's not just you. But I think, Macy, like you said, like building on those connections and making sure that you stay connected. I mean, I left BEM last year in June to go to Vice and Refinery 29 and work in their marketing department. And Brian, the CEO, and I still stayed connected. We talked frequently, as just entertainment industry people do. And this past June, I let him know that I was considering exploring other opportunities outside of Vice, and he was there to offer me a director of operations position. And so even as years pass and you move from job to job, you never know who will come back around to kind of serve as your next jumping off point for your next career move.
For sure.
Going off of that, feel free, any one of you, to answer, but how important is networking in our industry?
It's probably the most important thing you could do. And I know that, you guys have probably heard a million times, like, oh, you got to network, but like, it's true. Like every single person that you meet, like you never know who's going to show up down the line that's going to offer you a job or need somebody hired or whatever. Like be friendly, be kind, like talk to everybody and just, make them remember you as a person. Like for me, when I had initially went out to LA for just a summer in 2016 and I interned at Trailer Park. And when I was there, I got in with everybody that I could possibly get in with, but especially HR. Like, I would go to them and say, hey guys, like, I really like my internship here. Like, I want to work here after I graduate. Like, can you check over my resume? Like, can I get your email? Like, making them remember you as a person, to where when you do reach out to them after you graduate, they're gonna be like, oh, like, I remember Macy, she was here a year ago and she was great. Like, put your name out there. And it's super important. And like, also just within the industry as well, like when I was working at Live Nation, managing for Lil Nas X, I loved that job. However, I had always wanted to be in the rock space. So I was always very open with my boss, and she was wonderful. And I was like, look, like, I want to be eventually moving over to work with rock bands. And we had an opportunity to where I had the option to go over to Grandview Music, which is where I am now, to go and work with rock bands. And she actually made the call for me, saying, like, Macy, like, I know that this isn't what you want to do, but like, this is a better opportunity for you. And she was able to get me over to Grandview Music just because I was in so well with her. So like, just making good relationships with people, continuing those relationships, being open about like what you want in your career, and just getting as many emails and meeting up with people for coffee. Like, it's so important.
Yeah, and this is kind of going off that. But like, if y'all, any of y'all out there are wanting to do production or stuff for clients, like, make sure you definitely have like a discography or a link to your work, because that's way more important than your resume, at least for people that want to hire you based on those skills. I don't think I've updated my resume in like 7 or 8 years. And the cool thing about that, going off your question, is I don't think I will have to, because I can just do word of mouth, or like working through other clients and companies through people that I've met along the way. And because I've done so much, it's just, you kind of have like a chain reaction. Like, once you can get in the door, once you can figure that out, like, just life will take its course, and you'll have that like body of work that.
And going off of that as well, something that I do for his band Sadakoy and my other bands that I manage, we have a one sheet that's ready that just has like our general stats of like how many monthly listeners we have and how many shows we've played, and like just like a quick, it's pretty much like a resume for a band. So if any of you are wanting to be artists or bands or whatever, have that ready to when you do meet that person, you can just send them a one sheet and it has all of your information just in one space, to where like, they don't have to go and search you on social media, because it's easy and it's just there. So have that ready to go.
Yeah. I would say from an industry perspective opposed to an artist perspective, the little things go a long way. If anybody has had the chance to take Roger Cooper's class about the intro to the industry, he mentions handwritten thank you notes. And that was actually, I believe, the deciding factor, one of, as to why I got my internship at Live Nation. I wrote up a very quick 2 to 3 sentence thank you note after my interview, with no expectation of getting the job, and ran it in, gave it to the front desk, ran out like a little scared, college student just starting out, and I got a call a couple days later. So the small things really go a long way. I would say right now, as an industry professional, being able to stay connected even with people outside of, your industry or your space, having connections that, Macy, like you said, if there's something that you want to do in a few years, somebody that you can hit up and connect with. And, there's a very good chance that they will remember you. Even though you probably think, oh, they meet tons of people every day, they talk to tons of people every day. Trust me, make yourself memorable, have your 1 minute intro ready to go when you talk to people, but make sure it doesn't sound super rehearsed. Make sure, things stay conversational. But those types of intros are what makes you memorable. So just be authentic, and not to dwell on yesterday's keynote, but authenticity is key with that in helping people remember you, because so many people are in our space right now. There's just so much competition, but that stuff goes a long way.
I think it's the same on social media. I think people love authenticity. Like, our first video that went viral was like our guitarist, really messing up like a Mexican corrido and like butchering it, and like people love. But it was authentic. Like, we would do all these like super polished videos, but then just like we're like, oh, the one that we did as a joke in like 30 seconds led to like the catalyst of everything. So people love authenticity.
Yeah, totally. What are some resources for networking or just looking for jobs in the industry that you would recommend to people trying to break in?
I would say reaching out to people directly on LinkedIn. Like if you even just like temporarily get like a LinkedIn premium account and just like use your like credits or whatever they are to just like reach out to people, like make like your list of people that you think are just really, really good industry professionals or people that you'd want to work with, and just say, hey, you know, if you have time to hop on like a 10-minute Zoom, like reach out to them. You could even like DM people, or if like say you want to be an artist manager, like find like bands that like are, you know, up and coming that don't have a lot of followers that you think might not have management already, and say, hey, like I'm interested in, you know, possibly managing you and like taking on things on your own. Like just literally like cold reaching out to people. Like you're gonna get a lot of denials. Like the amount of like job applications I've filled out in my lifetime, like I have filled out hundreds, and like you just don't hear back from any of them, and you can't let that discourage you, because that one thing is going to come through, and like you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like finally, you know.
Totally agree. Anybody? Cameron, I saw you raise your mic.
Yeah. So, in my case, with the networking, I started doing a lot more networking when I moved to Nashville. And when I was in Columbus, I lived in Columbus for a while. I would go to a lot of shows, and that seems really basic, but you can go to shows based on whatever you want to do. You think you want to do. You can go to shows, and sometimes a manager will be there, or sometimes like the sound people will be there for sure. And you can just go up, and sometimes if they're not busy, if they have a little break, you can express interest, and that might lead to a conversation, and that's networking right there. I went to a lot of little events in Nashville. So if anybody ends up moving to a city that has a larger music scene, I went to a lot of events that companies are putting on, and just being there, you're still gonna learn stuff. You'll have conversations, like even the smallest conversations, get somebody's contact, and that's networking right there. Just to kind of simplify what may be a little bit scary for some.
Yeah, I literally just got on the plane a couple weeks back, and the girl that was sitting next to me was in the music industry, and she kind of caught on. I was doing some work on my laptop, and she like asked me what I was doing, and then we just ended up having like a super natural conversation about it. She works at a venue near me in the Bay Area, and we just like instantly connected on LinkedIn. Like it happens through those things, through those situations you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you guys stay with everything going on lately? How do you guys stay up to date on trends and make sure you are, you know, maintaining that expertise as you move through your career, even as an artist?
I think if you just consume, and then like you can do trends, but at the same time, like I think just kind of carving your own lane and going back to the authenticity. Like even if you definitely do it, but like in a way, like, you know, kind of break. And I feel like if you find your own mold or find something that's unique about you that you haven't done, and you can really latch on to that, that's great, because then you're the first person that came to that idea, and you'll be the one, and the people will be copying you. But I mean, if you know, there's so much that if you're trying to post a lot, definitely like just try everything. Try things that you're creating. Try taking what someone's done in the past and like putting your own spin on it and seeing if that leads to creativity. You just gotta like throw like everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Because like I still have no clue how to do social media, and we've been doing it. Like, you know, it's just you'll think you'll have something great, and it'll do really bad, or vice versa. You'll put like 2 seconds into something, and that'll do great, and that makes me mad and angry. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I generally, in my case, I keep up with Music Business Worldwide. It's a really good resource. A lot of the times I'll get information from, just for my job, from Copyright Royalty Board. I'll learn some stuff from them about certain things that are going on, maybe new. But usually Music Business Worldwide. I like to check social media. It's a big help just to see what's going on. And in my case, I talk to a lot of publishers, and the publishers will, when they're talking, they will run down their numbers, and I'll see, oh, this type of song gets this many streams on Spotify in this month. And you just learn small stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I would also say, in my case, as a marketing professional, going to conferences is a really big way for us to stay up to date on trends. Other than, you know, I'm on social media 24/7, probably consume a bit too much of it, but that is part of my job. So other than, like you said, you know, getting into the thick of it on social, attending conferences and making those connections that way, or just learning things, you know, couple things that I can think of in terms of networking is like entertainmentcareers.net is a great resource. I would definitely use LinkedIn as a path to navigate what certain positions are out there for you guys. But when you find those, go to the company's websites directly and apply there. Go to the source directly. If you can find somebody in that company on LinkedIn that you can connect with and just chat with them about the position. Macy, you mentioned HR, wonderful resource. It doesn't even have to be somebody in the position that you're trying to pursue, but just connecting with anybody and having them kind of know your name and know your face for when you send your application in. Cool. Jaron, I have one more question for you, and then we may have a little bit of time left before our Q&A. By the way, if anyone has any questions, make sure you're sending those in. I think we got some already. But now that you've built up this momentum with your band and as an artist, how do you keep that momentum going with all of the noise happening in the industry right now?
I think it just comes down to staying consistent and that's it, because it sucks when you put all this time into something and it doesn't do as well as you've expected, but you kind of just got to keep trudging through it because it's so subjective, you'll never know. But as long as you're consistent, something will happen and people will take note of that and they'll be along the journey with you for both the ups and the downs. And that's important because, the people that are riding with you when you're down, it's just going to even be greater when you're up. So, I think it really just comes down to consistency. And for me, I'll sidestep. I've made my living through what's called production music, and I really, really highly recommend any of you all out there that are producers to look into what this is. So it's basically music that is used in TV shows, commercials, and films that you all can work with, and these companies will either pay you or you could do it non-exclusive deals, and kind of that has supported me to where every day I just get to go out to the studio and I make stuff, and I'm doing anything from right now I'm doing Meg the Stallion, Ratchet Trap to Christmas music for the Hallmark Channel. It's really polar opposite. But I've been doing this and I've done hundreds of songs, and throughout all that, I've got to work on my craft every day, and it's supported me financially. And every 4 months, I get a check in the mail of just passive income. And every time that you watch anything online or on TV and commercial, a lot of it's probably just production music, and that person is getting paid to do it. And it's cool because they need all kinds of music. Even if you make avant-garde, glitch, whatever, the craziest stuff, there's somewhere a need for that. So just start looking into production music libraries, and it's a way that you can make money on the side or just practice. I really, really recommend it.
Cool. Yeah. Macy and Cameryn, how about the industry professional side of things? How do you, keep the momentum going for yourselves? What is kind of inspiring you right now and keeping you excited about what you're working on?
I think the biggest thing is right now with one of my artists, we're about to do another tour in about 3 weeks, and it's always just finding really cool ways to engage with the fans and to bring fans in, and especially during the live show, we're just trying one of our artists is it's very a theatrical performance, and we're just trying to get people out there and trying to promote people to come out to the show, and just doing a lot of social media for those types of things. But I think on the other hand, especially for when I'm working with Jaron's band for Sadakoi, we're trying to find bands that are similar to us to go out on the road, because the goal for them being a smaller band, we want to get out there, we want to tour, we want to be, doing these things. We're trying to find bands that we find, are in the similar vein as us, to where we can open up for them, or they can open up for us, and we can get on the road and we can go tour and we can get ourselves out there, because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to engage fans and to go out and to play shows. And I think just by constantly, looking up new people on Spotify and trying to find stuff on new releases of just even small bands, and finding things on social media, it's so exciting, because you're finding other bands that are doing very similar things to what we're doing, and it's just a cool thing.
For me, currently my job is to organize royalty information, recording information, so I can get our songwriters their correct royalties. And that makes me happy. Helping people get paid just makes me happy, because I'll communicate directly with these publishers and they'll say, oh, thank you, I received what I think is the correct amount of royalties for my work. And that's just rewarding. So that pretty much motivates me every day, and it's real fun to see other people happy because of work that I do.
Yeah,
And going off that, I even heard this earlier. If y'all don't have like join a performance rights organization so that you can collect your royalties and make sure your songs are registered, like go and get your IPI number, join BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, like any of that stuff.
Totally.
Very important.
Yes. All right, well, we're going to jump into the Q&A portion of the panel here. So we got a question for Jaron here.
Okay.
From Devin Heartless. There's a lot of stigma around short-form content marketing, either many people being turned off of artists due to the cringe or corniness associated with it. How do you work around that when developing content for your band, and how do you support the authenticity of your brand with social media?
I think you just have to not care. You just have to get over it, whatever people say. Honestly, some of our biggest videos, like controversy kind of breeds virality. And like once you get to a certain level, there's always going to be like haters no matter what. But you have them and they're helping you out. They don't realize it, but every time that they say some dumb stuff on your video, like they're just pushing your video further and further. So I think you just have to not worry about like what's cringe, because like that's subjective. Like what I might dislike, other people love. So like it really doesn't matter. So like as long as you like what you're doing and you're enjoying what you're doing, just keep doing that. And sometimes it like takes a while for things to pop, but it just, I keep saying it, it's just like the consistency and not worrying what other people think. Like who cares?
Totally. Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest hurdles for myself to overcome when first starting out, is like, who cares about the cringe? Someone out there is going to cringe, but you know, just moving on past it and continuing to be genuine and authentic. Cool. Next question is from Courtney Valenti. In terms of applying for an internship and not hearing back, what would your advice be for figuring out what is missing?
I think for this one, it's not necessarily that something is missing. I think it just really depends. Like I said, I have filled out hundreds of applications in my lifetime, and you know, most of them I do not hear back from. That doesn't mean necessarily that something's missing. It's just, especially when you're applying to these larger companies, like say you're applying to the Warners or the Universals, like they are getting tens of thousands of applications every single day. And a lot of these places, they also have like the filtration systems to where like your resume like might not even be seen by a human. So for me, if you're not hearing back, I recommend starting off at a smaller company. I feel like those ones are 9 times out of 10 will actually be seen by a person, but 2, like, you know, they're not getting these massive influxes of applications to where, you know, they're probably going to see your thing. And like, don't get discouraged by not hearing back, because like, that's just the way that it works. You will hear back from that one place and you will find something. I do think a lot of that does happen organically though, by reaching out to people and saying, hey, I'm looking for an internship. So just try and really focus on reaching out to connections and meeting people, because, you know, sometimes the application system, it doesn't always go your way. So just meet that person and they can bring you on and introduce you to the right person and get you on track.
Cool. Yeah, great answer. I would say even like, you know, I'm working at a mid-sized company right now, but I still meet people from Warner every day, ASCAP. You know, you will run into those people that you want to work for in the future, just while you're getting into the smaller mid-sized companies. So great advice. Yeah. Cool. Next question is actually for Macy from Robert Sorry. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Macy, I'm a rock artist in Columbus and am an OU alumni. Would love to connect on the band management side. Any advice for a local artist?
Yeah, I definitely would love to connect. Feel free to meet up with me after the panel. But I think for a local artist, it's really about just like playing shows, and kind of like what Jaron was saying is like putting yourself out there on social media. Like the main goal for smaller bands is like just getting a fan base and gathering those people. I have bands from all sizes. Like I used to work for Lil Nas X, and now I work for, you know, smaller independent bands. So like it's definitely dependent on, you know, how many fans you already have. But I think Jaron can actually probably speak to this a little bit too. But like just really, really, really just trying to connect with your audience and, you know, gaining people in there.
Yeah, build a community. If you're a band or an artist and you don't have a Discord, go make one like right now and try to get anyone to go in there. Like it's just like email. It's the new email marketing, but it's just so much more engaged. And just try to even like reach out to your friend. Like start building everyone you have. Ask everyone. It takes a team. Like you can't do it by yourself. It's so hard. You need everyone in your corner, and just start trying to build your team in any way you can. And if you want to just find people on the internet, like Discord is
Yeah, and like we just got like a couple of our friends and like our band, like we all are just kind of like all hands on deck. Like we have some people that are running social, we have people that are running our Discord, we have people that are doing our art and our creative direction. Like we have like a little team, and it's all of our friends, and like we're obviously none of us are getting paid for it. We're just doing it because we love it and we want to get them out there, and we're passionate about it, and we know it's going to pay off one day. So just really just gathering like your friend group and just, you know, putting yourself out there as best as you can.
100%. Next question. So this is from Jack Ingram for Jaron. What are your thoughts on the idea of quantity versus quality when it comes to marketing? I would love to give us some insight on this myself after you're done.
Okay, so in like a way, I kind of feel like sometimes you get punished if you try to make this like high glossy music video and then post it on socials, to where like I feel like there's a trend. Like if you look at like Connor Price is like the quintessential like TikTok marketer. Like he's definitely made it, and he has the money to make high quality productions, but it's still that same frame of his in like his bedroom with like the $100 like small MIDI keyboard. And because I think that just it makes it feel more authentic. Or even like looking at Lil Nas, he still makes his biggest videos that he posts online are just ones that he makes himself with his iPhone.
Video footage, yeah.
Yeah. So like I think it's okay to like what we do is we make like high tier what we think is high quality content, and also like low tier content. And I think if you just do like a little bit of both and don't put all your eggs in one basket, because like if you go out there and try to make a high quality music video and you blow like your entire budget, like it is so defeating to like just put all that into something and it not pay off. So I think you just need to be smart about like spreading out and like thinking about like you have bucket tiers of what the content creation you're making, if that makes sense.
Yeah. In terms of the quantitative side of things, I mean, it's, you know, there's definitely a fine line where you have to cross with that, where it's like, you know, people are getting inundated with posts, TikTok, Instagram, everything, lives, reels. And so figuring out the best way to, what is the best form of content? Is it short form? Is it long form? Do I just go live for 30 minutes? You know, what is the message I'm trying to send, and then what will get that message across the best?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the vertical short form content is definitely what people are pushing. Like you'll notice if you post on YouTube Shorts, YouTube will really, if you're not posting on YouTube Shorts, go start doing that. They will push your video. Like they're trying to compete with TikTok, and they are just really pushing. Like you'll notice if you post long form versus short form, you'll get way more views on short form organically through YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, I think we have time for one more question. So this one's from Russell Bobble. Sorry again if I mispronounced that. Bobel. How do you perceive the balance between the significance of live performances versus online content for emerging artists? Anyone can take this. Feel free, Jaron.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I always, like, it's weird to, like, stream in front of people and then just, like, hear silence, like, after a song. Like, I think going and having that, like, direct, like, playing a show is to me, it'll always be way more valuable. But again, like, what I was just saying, I think nowadays there's all these tools to grow as an artist and as a musician. And like even if you're like a freelance musician just trying to get work, I think just do like everything. Go out there, play shows, play online, post your stuff, live stream. Just like try to do everything, but also don't like burn yourself out. Like it's okay to like take a break. And I hope that you're not taking from this as like I gotta go do all this. Do enough of it to where you're like maybe just put in a little bit each day, but not to the point where you're like extreme burnout, because then you won't want to do anything, and that's just not gonna, you're gonna quit, you know?
Yeah.
Find a balance. 100%.
Burnout. I will end with this. Burnout in this industry is so real. So real. I'm sure we've all experienced it, and it's really, really hard to bounce back from. So as, you know, as new industry professionals breaking in, don't burn yourselves out. You know, take it slow, but like Jaron said, make moves consistently. Make sure that you're continuing to put your foot in the door, but don't go all out, you know, very first year out of school, because you will burn yourselves out. So just take it step by step, and you will get there. We've all literally been in your exact same shoes. So anyways, thank you guys for speaking and sharing your wisdom. Hope you guys were able to gain some insight from this. And we will be up here if anyone wants to come and network or ask questions.